news regarding the Toronto Maple Leafs and their future captain. Check out this. Expect the Toronto Maple Leafs to name Auston Matthews captain on Wednesday. This is part of the evolution of Matthews as a leader and current Maple Leafs captain. John Tavares fully supports the change. Tavares has been heavily involved in the process with GM Brad Treliving. For more on the news, we welcome in the hockey newses, David Alter. David, look, your summer just got a little bit busier coming up on Wednesday. What led to this decision to give Auston Matthews the C on his chest?
Look, I think the number one thing you're going to hear in the news conference when they bring everything forward together is the fact that a change of the voice was needed. The only other two principal voices you can change in the room are both the head coach and the captain. So you look at where John Tavares is. You look at where Auston Matthews is. Auston Matthews just began a brand new contract. So I think there's a focus here. Get John Tavares to be more productive again. Auston Matthews can handle the added responsibilities, but really what it comes down to is the results. Any big change like this comes down to results and nothing more usually. So you saw it with the head coaching, and because of the cap constraints and the roster limitations, it made perfect sense that the next one was going to be the captaincy here.
We saw in the tweet there that John Tavares, supports this. He was heavily involved in the process. Yes. Behind the scenes, how do you think this impacts John Tavares?
Look, I mean, I think we'll learn more about that tomorrow. I think this is going to be a net benefit for him. I think that there is a certain responsibility of being a captain with the Toronto Maple Leafs or in any sort of big market. And going into this season when you're in the final year of your contract, making $11 million and an unrestricted free agent and a lot of pressure at age 33 or 34, that there really has to be a focus to just rebound from the production that he had last year. And I think that's ultimately what led to someone like Tavares realizing for the betterment of the team, I personally have to be better, and if the best player in the league is wearing the C, then everyone really benefits.
All right, David, we appreciate the insight. We will talk to you when the season gets underway coming up in a couple of weeks. Thanks for the insight.
You got it, Jameson. Thank you.
All right, David Alter of the Hockey News. What's your reaction to this? Like we said, it was a light Monday, not the case here on Tuesday, and Wednesday is going to be a big day in the city of Toronto.
Well, having extended Matthews, you take away the uncertainty of will he be there longer term? Those rumors have been kind of swirling around for the last couple of years or so. I think it kind of adds a little bit of certainty in that respect. You get continuity as you transition at this moment. Frankly, you and I were talking before we came on air. There may have been a right moment going back 3-ish, maybe more years.
Yeah.
Auston Matthews has completed 8 full seasons as a Toronto Maple Leaf, and he's just now taking on that letter. But I think it's a fitting time, if not the optimal time. It's a fitting time for Matthew to kind of take over the seat in this way. And here's to the point, and David Alter kind of makes this point, JMO. Where Tavares is concerned, you don't really need a letter to be a leader.
Yeah.
He can continue to have that same presence, that same voice in the room, albeit deferring to Matthews because he's outranked at least in terms of the NHL hierarchy. But I think it makes great sense in that respect. And for Tavares, I think, too, this added benefit of, hey, he's done that job for a good number of years now. There's a whole lot of pressure to being and responsibility to being the captain in a market like Toronto. I'm sure he doesn't mind sharing some of that responsibility with an Auston Matthews at this point.
You played in some big markets in your day, big cities. When you think back to your playing days in those dressing rooms with the guys that wore the C, what makes a good leader?
The media can really wear you down. And I'm not talking about the fourth line, grinders like myself, but the elite guys, the guys that have a mic in their face every day of the calendar year, at least from the hockey season standpoint. But the guys that will just stand in there, ask the questions, deliver an answer in a rather calm demeanor, just be a real pro about it. It can be a real asset to the rest of the group when they know, the media knows, hey, if we need an answer on this, we can come to the captain. We can come to a leader. It takes some of the pressure off the rest of the group. I saw Steve Yzerman do that as well as anybody I've ever played for. Recognized, felt that it was his responsibility and handled it like a real pro.
Kind of signaling maybe a clean slate in Toronto. New captain, new coach behind the bench in Craig Berube. What does that signal to you, the direction that Toronto wants to head right now?
I think this team going back to maybe going back a handful of years, but for me, I come back to this moment 2 years ago, losing out to Florida when Florida went on their first Stanley Cup final run before they ultimately win it. Toronto learned something meaningful about their roster. That identity had to change, and it needed to be grittier, grainier, hardened, more hardened. And I think you've seen a slow and deliberate migration to that. To me, signing Berube now the head coach, the bench boss for these Toronto Maple Leafs, that's another important, maybe let's call step in the process as well. So I think all these things ultimately add to that identity and shape that identity in a positive way. Remains to be seen until they can go on a good long run.